Is bullying really still a thing?
Bullying? I didn't
Yeah,
experience it
like
during
it's.
high school myself, but I was an unusually, for a nerd, I was terrifying. I
But I
will
mean,
say
like
that.
physical bullying. Does that still exist?
When I was in middle school, it did. When I was in middle school, because my favorite story about that, there was a, going off on a tangent here. There was a bully in my elementary and middle school, and I'm gonna
Hmm.
call him out by name because I remember his name and he deserves to be called out. Ian was his name. And he was a. This guy was a. Like he was the kid that I remember. There was one time. Like he was the kind of bully that knew how to like exploit people, to like exploit the teachers. You know.
Okay.
So for example, like my story with him, I got two stories with him, and one of them was when we were waiting in line for some after school, and he grabbed my hand and like pulled out my middle finger, and then he called the teacher. He was like, "Teacher, teacher, Chris pulled his middle finger out on me, pointing the middle finger at me," and I was like, "But you made me do it." And the teacher was like, "Oh, really? Did he really make you do it?" And I was like, "Yeah," and she was like, "Yeah, right." And so I got sent to detention for that. And then the other time that I had a personal experience with him that was like significant was during he actually gave me a concussion, and we were sitting in PE class, and we were sitting on this. There was a stone wall we would line up at the beginning of PE class and sit down on, and we were all sitting down there, and before we all like finished kind of sitting down, he grabbed a stone off because the wall was kind of crumbling. It was a pretty old stone wall, as they all are. So he grabbed a stone off the crumbling wall, and this was a big rock, especially for a kid. You know, I don't know how big at the time. Like on a holy god damn, on the scale of a child, this was a massive. This rock was probably the size of my head. He picked it up anyways. He swung it down from behind me. It was I've had 3 concussions in my life. One was as an adult. One was when I was a little kid on a field trip, and I got smacked in the face with a ball or some shit. And this was the other time. I actually saw stars, blacked out, like went on the ground. This dude literally hit me over the back of the head with a rock, right?
Mission complete.
And he pointed at me and was like, "PE teacher, 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 this kid's, is out of line or whatever." And I got sent to detention for that.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten a concussion.
I got a concussion 3 times, and that was one of them. Like, I remember that because I was just like, what the do you want me to do? You know, like, what the This kid literally hit me over the back of the head with a giant-ass rock, and I got sent to detention over it. Anyways,
Yeah,
and
I was the one doing the bullying.
that was in elementary school. In middle school, my story with Ian was my sister was David was the name of my best friend in elementary and middle school, like on and off. He was actually most of the time he was my second best friend. I had like a revolving door of best friends.
Yeah, you a cheater.
But David was always there. He was kind of my like second best friend. And my sister was walking through campus one day after school and spotted Ian doing like he had literally picked him up by the collar of his shirt and was like slugging him in the face, right? So my sister, who's 3 years older than me at the time, walked up behind him, grabbed the back of Ian collar, pulled him off of David, and slugged him straight in the face, and dragged his ass into the principal's office with the broken, like she broke his nose. He was bleeding out of his nose. And she dragged him into the principal's office and explained what happened. And the principal just kind of looked at her and was like, "Did you have to hit him?" like what the
Y'all ain't hitting him, so I'm gonna hit him.
right, exactly. Anyways, I mean, like, well, whatever.
Granted, we went to
My
different
sister
schools.
managed to get off scot-free somehow. I don't know. When I got sent to
Female
detention.
privilege.
What?
Female privilege back then.
Well, I mean, when he would slug me, he got off scot-free, and I got in trouble for it somehow. So that's just kind of how
It's because they didn't like you because you weren't fully white.
yeah, whatever. Um,
You know, that's honestly probably what it is.
I don't know. They liked my family a lot there. For whatever reason, they liked my family at that school. This was,
Minus you.
well, that was
And
just its own thing.
again, we went to different schools because I was bullied once as like I want to say first, second, or third grade, one of those. And it was by like the biggest kid at the time in school who had been held back to. I mean, look, by the end of high school, he dropped out because he had been held back too many times. But anyway, in elementary school, he was big. Like he was old enough to be 2 years ahead of us,
Yeah.
but he was still in our grade. And one day he picked on me because of where I was sitting while eating lunch.
Oh, you sat to eat lunch? What a popular kid, huh?
Well, you had to. It was the rules. You weren't allowed to eat lunch outside of the cafeteria.
Well, yeah, but
So,
I had to stand. My freshman year of high school before I had any friends, I was
oh
standing in
no,
the
this
corner.
this is elementary school.
I see, I see.
I told you first, second, or third grade elementary school. So I sit down. Apparently, a bunch of his friends sat at the same table. So he started picking on me because he wanted me to move and go to a different table so he could sit down. And I ignored him. I ignored him and just kept eating my lunch. So his bright idea was to grab me from the back and start choking me.
Yeah, that worked out for him.
I turned around and whacked him in the face with the lunch tray. And then another kid that was sitting at the table that saw when he first started picking on me, by then he had already gone to get a teacher. So the teacher just gets there in time to see me whack him in the face with the lunch tray.
Uh, Classic.
Yep, I get a week of in-school suspension. He gets like 2 weeks of out-of-school suspension. And then because he threatened to kill me, a a, one of the deans in charge of detention
Yeah.
literally walked me home every single day for like 3 months.
What the
And when I say this dude was older than us, like the kid,
Yeah.
again, I don't remember if it was first, second, or third grade because those three grades were in the same school.
Yeah.
But he was literally just smoking by then.
Oh my
You know
god.
what I mean? Like he had been held back 2 or 3
Are
times
you ready
every
to run it
single
again,
year.
by the way?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
So yeah, that was the one time that anyone tried bullying me.
Yeah, I
After
got
that, no one tried, just for the sole fact that they knew I would fight back.
I see. Here's the thing with me is like I got bullied actually. So I would go through it would go through phases for me because when I was in elementary, middle school, when I was in San Antonio, um, I would there like I would kind of get because I was a nerd, you know. So I would get kind of picked on and picked on and picked on, and it would kind of build up over time, and eventually I would just be like, all right, this, shit. And then I would stand up, and I don't know, put some kid in a chokehold or some. Because I up until that point I didn't give a you know, like I just kind of let it happen. I didn't usually get physically bullied like that bad, but like people would like they try. Um, but I'd be ostracized and shit like that. But once it started to rise to the level of actual physical bullying, after a point I would be like, yeah, that, you guys, and then I would actually stand up and like fight back, and then they would stop for a week, and then because children don't have functioning memories, they would start again.
You're an adult and you don't have functioning memory.
You don't have to call me out like that, bro. Anyways, then it would kind of start up again. So when I was in and the whole shit of like exploiting the teachers, that's why I have issues. I had issues with authority for a long time because This when I was in elementary, middle school, the whole time, always, every single time, some kid would like come up. Just some bully would come. I'd be fed up with him. I'd be like, you know what, F you, and then I get in trouble for it, you know.
Yeah.
Just the classic, but whatever. When I went to high school, when I moved schools, moved across the country, I was like, you know what, I'm not letting anybody F with me this time around. And I was a nerd. Like, I was the nerd. I was taking AP Calculus as a freshman, my first year in high school. I was the nerd in the school, right? Nobody with me. I don't know if I just gave the school a shooter vibe or what.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. But, I mean, I remember one time, the closest I ever came to being bullied properly, was this one time. I went to my locker after class, and some kid that had class like next to where my locker was. You know the water bottle rocket thing where they do the the water bottle
twist
cap?
it and yeah.
Yeah.
I was one of the people that did that.
That dude did it, and it went like right next to my head. Right at the locker next to me. And I snapped around and I looked at him and I stared at him in the face and I said, if that had hit me, you'd be dead. I saw his soul leave his body.
Yeah, 100% school shooter.
That was. And then there was another time during PE class, and this was my own grade, and this was a kid that I didn't consider a friend, but like I was on like decent terms with this kid, you know. I wasn't on bad terms with him. And we were in PE class playing basketball, and I'm at the top, and I wasn't very good at basketball. I was better than average. Like I was somebody you would probably want me on your team if we're in PE class, but like I'm not making the basketball team. You know what I mean? But we were playing basketball in PE class one time, and I love basketball. Basketball's always been my favorite sport. And I'm at the top of the key, and he's guarding me. I got the ball, and this was a trick I learned from like I had a teammate back in San Antonio in middle school. This kid was a tiny ass kid, but he acted like the biggest player on the floor. This guy was terrifying. You know, he would just give you a look, and you just be like, holy, like this guy's about to do some to me, right? Like he was probably 4 foot tall at the time because he's a little kid, but you feel like you're about to get dunked on, right? Anyways, I learned from him. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try this, right? So I'm at the top of the key, and I just gave him a look. Like I just glared at this kid, and he literally like his legs gave out. I didn't even do a crossover or nothing. He just fell.
You crossed him without crossing him.
Yeah, he just dropped, right? Afterwards, like I was in the locker room, you know, and this another kid who was like friendly was like, dude, you made a shit his pants. I was like, yeah, didn't know it was that scary, but
yeah.
I was when I was in high school, I don't know, like. I was a kind of a weird kid. I isolated myself as a freshman in my first year in high school because I didn't want to come off as weak. I didn't want to appear weak. You know, I was sick of getting picked on in middle school. So I put on this front of like, and I guess it worked. But it also gave me the issue of like completely stunting my emotions. Like I didn't allow myself to like feel or express emotions. So I always had a straight face on. Like I had this stone face on all the time. It took me years afterwards to relearn how to smile. It was what?
I feel that.
Yeah,
I went through something similar, but just because of the environment.
Yeah, you learn to put on a front, right?
Yep.
You know, and that's just kind of how it is. In my case, it was just because in my high school, I never really saw anybody in my high school, but my high school also was incredibly segregated by by academics. You know, not by race, because there were no races to segregate. I was one of like 2 non-white people in my class. Um, it was just segregated by abilities. There were the honor students, and there was everybody else.
Yeah.
And I was one of the honor students. I'm guessing that in the non-honor students, like bullying was more common, but I never saw it because it was so heavily segregated like that. Again, that interaction with the kids with the water bottle was like one of the only interactions I ever had with non-honor students. I just never even met most of the non-honor students, even in my own class. But I never saw any kind of. It must have happened because one of my friends tried to kill himself. So like, I have to imagine that it must have happened, you know?
But like, what extent would the bullying come to? Like
I don't
physical,
know. I have no idea.
psychological,
When I was in
emotional?
middle school, kids were physically bullied, you know? Um,
See, the only times I remember that happening here was literally elementary school. Because as soon as you got to middle school, you had a weapon.
This was like no, you didn't have weapons in my school. I had a weapon
My
one
school had
time on
weapons, yeah.
myself, and I turned myself in because I brought it in on accident, and then somebody tried to bully me in like PE class. I remembered after I went to school, I was really into multi-tools at the time, like Leathermans and shit. I had one on
Yeah.
me at the time. I brought one with me on accident, genuinely on accident. But then during like PE class, somebody tried to bully me, and I remembered. I was like, oh yeah, I was like, dude, I'm the one with the knife, right? He backed off. I was like, well, I could probably get myself in trouble for saying something like that. So
No.
I went to the principal's office and was like, hey, you know, I was like 10 years old at the time. I don't even know, like, as a principal, how do you react to that? Like, some 10-year-old walks in your office, like, yeah, I accidentally brought a knife to school today.
Hey, better than what 10-year-olds were doing over here.
But shit. Anyways, come on, give me a goddamn break with this.
I
Anyways,
will, I will say, when I was younger, there was a lot more gang activity in my area. So I feel like that had a lot to do with, uh, like weaponry and stuff in school here. Uh, Surprisingly enough, the gangs have like died down in my town. There are still some gangs and gang affiliates, but not like it used to be.
yeah.
Like you can actually walk down some of the
There were
worst
never
parts.
any, none of the schools I've ever been to, because I went to a private school in San Antonio. Definitely has gangs. There's definitely gangs in San Antonio. I went to a private school there, same school that Tim Duncan's kids went to, you know, Sean Elliott's kids. But and for high school, I went to a school that was a public school in an extremely white and affluent area.
Mission complete.
So I never
You have our thanks.
went to school anywhere where there was any kind of gang activity or anything like that.
Got it.
But there was, and this was like as late as like 2008, 2009, I was witnessing physical bullying in a private school, you know, in San Antonio, like a high-powered private school. This was a really good school. So it's definitely was a thing, you know, relatively recently. But I don't know. I never saw it in my high school. It must some kind of bullying must have happened. Let's go
My
back.
high school years were something else.
I
Christ.
know your high school years were crazy.
Oh, 2 kids in my class got expelled. One of them was pretty like high ranked in the Latin Kings gang that was here. Like he even asked me to join. I would
Yeah,
have to go through initiation. I said nah.
yeah, no yeah, no.
So but yeah, so one day he punched one of the teachers, climbed out the window, and just ran away and never came back to school.
Okay.
His brother, his twin brother, though, was stuck out in school until the end.
Okay.
The second one was a guy that I actually got along with pretty well. He got expelled after he got caught stealing credit cards from different teachers. And
Okay.
when they searched his locker and book bag, they found a pistol. So he was just walking around school all day with a pistol in his book bag, stealing credit cards.
Good. You know what? Good for him.
Yep. One of my other friends got suspended for like a week because this I found stupid. So he had a knife on him, but it was a butter knife. He kept it in his sleeve and it fell out. And it's like, oh, you brought a weapon to school, suspend. It's like, it's a butter knife.
Yeah, that's stupid. That's just stupid.
And because I always wore like hoodies or long sleeves that were really loose fitting, I always had a metal pipe hidden up my sleeve. So my right arm was always stiff because I had the pipe. And the few times that I would need it, I would literally just let it go and it would fall out of my sleeve. And it had a bolt and a nut on the other end. So as soon as it hit, as soon as I felt that hit my pinky, I knew to just squeeze my hand. That was my drop weapon.
Yeah, you've told me about that one before.
Yeah. But yeah,
Um,
my one kid, I remember it was on the news because he got jumped right outside the school doors by like three people, got slashed and stabbed a couple times. It was a bunch of kids trying to like they formed their own gang. I still remember the name of the gang. It was called Certified Gangsters. That's what they went with.
that's okay.
And they tried to like get it off the ground by trying to kill someone at school that they didn't like. They failed. He was unarmed,
Check your
beat
mail, by the
the
way.
absolute fucking shit out of them. Sorry, what?
Check your mail, by the way.
It's there's nothing.
You didn't get. Did you get the New Year's thing left yet?
Uh, maybe I don't
Like a
know.
shit ton of loot.
There, yeah, there was a shit ton when I first got in before
Okay.
you
I
got
didn't. I
on.
didn't get that until midway through that mission.
You know. But anyway, so he was unarmed, beat the absolute dog shit out of all of them. Went to the hospital. Like a month and a half later, comes back to school. He has scars all over his face, neck, arms. But apparently, like, none of them were deep enough to cause any serious damage. Just superficial damage.
Yeah.
No one messed with him, though, after that.
I bet.
I'm pretty sure he was in a gang, too. If he wasn't, he could have fooled a lot of people.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite classes back then in high school was weights class. Because it was essentially just going to the gym. You would go down into the basement of the school, and they had a
Ask me
bunch of
anything
weight
about modules.
machines set up. So it was either, I think one of the options was dance class, normal gym, or weights class. I picked weights. And two of my closest friends there in that specific class that they would push me to like beat my PR and everything. Both of them were members of the Bloods. They were
Yeah.
actually really nice.
I'm sure there's. You know, there's rapists, there's murderers, and some I'm sure are good people.
Yeah. Well, they were nice to me.
Yeah.
So
Are you? Do you want to? What do you want to do here? You want to run that again, or you want to do something else?
I mean, I'm level 1, just like you. So
You want
up
to
to
run it
you.
again?
Up to you.
Let's run it again. I'm pretty close to maxing Hailey out, and then I just gotta run it. I just gotta level up a couple more times, and then I'll be there. So I think 3 runs of this ought to get me. And we're talking about such so.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I never saw it in like college or anything like that, but I feel like by the time once you get older, it's bullying gets a little bit more specialized. Physical bullying still occurs, but it usually has some kind of pretext to it, like hazing or some.
I didn't
Um,
see any bullying in college.
like hazing is the biggest form of bullying in college. Well, that I mean nowadays cyberbullying, but
Well,
that's
yeah.
that's a little that's a little different. We're talking about physical bullying here. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Bullying that involves face to face.
Yeah,
It could be verbal, it could be emotional, mental, but it's face to face,
yeah, face to
not behind a
face.
computer screen.
Yeah, I didn't get bullied at all in high school. Um, I should have been bullied in high school if I'm being honest. Like I was a
I
fucking
Ironically enough, I bullied someone in middle school, but I didn't know that I was bullying him. Does that make sense? Like I actually liked the kid. I thought we were just around, goofing off,
Oh, I see, I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
because we would do stuff like punch each other on the arms
Like
and stuff like
you
that.
thought you were just being friends, but he didn't actually see you that way.
Hey,
Exactly.
Junior.
He saw it as
Transmission to recapture
me
the
like
inversion furnace.
hurting him just because I would hit a bit harder than him when we would do stupid like literally like we would get bored in class and just start punching each other on the arm. I guess I just hit too hard and he took it as bullying. And it's like I think it was a teacher like saw us around like that and we both got in trouble. And then he's like, "Well, he's bullying me." I'm like, "What, bro?" So
Yeah.
after that, I'm like, "All right, I'm sorry. I didn't know that you took it that way." And but after that, it's like the friendship kind of like slowly faded for the sole fact that he said I was bullying him. I don't know if he meant it, if he was trying to not get in trouble by saying it, but
Yeah.
like I'd never bullied
What
anyone
should
on
I get to it?
purpose.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I never have either. I don't know. I've probably bullied somebody on accident like that before. But I don't know.